We here. What's going on, people? All right. So we get back at it. It's gonna be a quick. So where my money? So I got the little clip for an app. I'm actually gonna try this app. I already have a busy schedule for me to try this app. I'm just gonna just try see how it goes. See what's going on. So basically, Ship Smart is an app where you can pick up ships for a job and potentially make some money. Another gig app that you pick the time, you pick the day. You ain't got to be a 24-hour employee to where you work for this company full time. Boss lady, not your life. What's going on? I haven't been on your channel in a minute. All the energy. What's going on? Morning to you. Yeah, I've been in and out of YouTube for a minute. I'm actually gonna start coming back and doing lives. Uh, but yeah, basically, so that's an app that you're gonna be using, and I've always talked about the gig apps for driving, the DoorDash, Grubhub, anything. If you don't like driving with people in your car, you can do deliveries. But also, boss lady, what's going on? And also, just in general, what are you gonna be doing when you get this money? Paying off bills and things. You know, when I when I say where's my money, I'm referring to when you get the money, what are you gonna be doing? Most people don't even have $1,000 in savings. So let's start there. Trying to get at least 1,000 in savings. How are we gonna do that? Baby steps. One week you can put in $10. Start somewhere. Everybody starts emergency fund, but over time you kind of dip into it and spend a little more than you should. So that's going to be an issue. So let's just start with baby steps. Let's go ahead, start off. $25 ain't gonna hurt nobody. $50 ain't gonna hurt. When you start hitting 100, you start. Oh my goodness! But like I say, baby steps. Do 25 a week, do 50 a week. You know, try to do 100 if you can. Most people have their money just budgeted out, but then a lot of people just spend. And that's one of the topics of where your money's going to this impulse shopping, eating out. You know how many? I bought me a hot plate from Amazon to where I bring my leftovers to work. I don't do it all the time, but the times where I just did it full out the whole week, my coworker got me start doing this. Don't you know how much money I actually save by not eating out every day? I'm eating breakfast, lunch, grabbing snacks. I've noticed when I've been going to the grocery store versus going to the corner store to get my snacks, I save a lot of money. I still got a case of water in my truck. I still got a couple of bottles of juice compared to me going to, the corner store paying, let's say if I drink Sprite, $3 for a Sprite, almost like 250 or something for a 12 or 20-ounce bottle of Sprite. I can actually go to the grocery store, get, I want to say, what is it? I think a 6-pack for maybe $8 or something like that, or a six. I don't really buy sodas like that. I mostly buy juices and teas. But the thing is, I get a 12-pack of tea, Arizona's or something like that, for $10. I mean, well, $8. I know that they buy $8. Then I could turn around, go give me a case of water for about $5. Sometimes they have case of waters on sale for $3.50 and $4. And I literally could take all that water, put it in my truck, go give me a big bag of family size bag of chips, even though they'll never have chips in there that much anyway. But get a family size bag of chips, get me some Ziploc bags, pour it in there, and have my chips already separated Ziploc. Buy me some pecans, nuts, all that from the grocery store. I can either get the big containers or I can get the small bag, whatever I prefer to get. And the thing is, me individually putting all this stuff to the side versus me going to the corner store. And what made me come up with that notion, and hey, I went to the grocery. I went to the corner store one time. I got It was real hot that summer. I got about 3 or 4 drinks. I got 2 pieces of candy, a bag of chips. I think it was a little Debbie or something, and some gum. It was almost $30. It was like 20. I think it was like $28 or something like that. And I looked at the cash. I'm like, "What did you ring up?" He's like, "Well, the Debbie cakes or $1.50 now." I was like, "When did Little Debbie became a dollar? Little Debbie is Big Debbie now. Like $1.50. This grown woman Debbie. It's not Little Debbie no more. This is a grown woman Debbie." So I'm like, man, like this is a lot of money for a Little Debbie cake. $1.50. I remember I used to get Little Debbie's for a quarter, but times have changed. Turned around, one of the drinks I bought was 350. It was like a coconut water or something like that. And I'm like, man, the Powerade. They used to have the Powerades 2 for $4. One Powerade was $2.89. So I'm like, all this is adding up. Candy bars. It went from candy bars to 75 cents, 50 cents. Now one candy bar is almost 180, 150 to 180, almost $2. In some places, they only sell the bigger candy bars and they want $253 for those for the king size. So I'm like, this is a lot going on when it comes to your money. So in order for you to save money, what do you got to do? Start buying in bulk. That's why Sam's Club, BJ's, all these are big. But even greater, buying at the grocery store, you'll cut your bill in half versus going to the corner store. Because the corner store is doing the same thing you're doing. They're going to the grocery store, buying these things, coming back, sell it to their store, upcharge, 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 upcharge. So you got to watch for the upcharge. That's how you're able to save money. Impulse shopping. Stop impulse buying. You know, you see something, if it's a deal, I kind of can understand that, but you have to stick to a deal. Write a budget out, stick to a budget. Pay your bills on the budget. You know all your bills when it's coming out. You won't get caught blindsided by, oh, something's doing I didn't know because you have it in the budget. You know, and that's the thing with a lot of people. You got to have some type of accountability. You know, whether you're married, whether you have kids, you have to get them in line just like you keeping them in line. But you keep each other in line is accountability. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people don't want to be accountable for their actions. You know, if you say you're not drinking Dunkin' Donuts for the whole week, but you love their coffee, and going to Starbucks is not a cop out. Well, I didn't go to Dunkin', I went to Starbucks. No, you're not supposed to be drinking that coffee out in general. Make it at home. You know, get you a coffee maker, make your coffee at home. You're gonna save way more money. Way more money. You just gotta have coffee. They got K cups now. They have been had coffee makers that you can make a coffee yourself. So the thing of the past to where, man, I can't save money. You got to be accountable for your actions. You know, when it's time to buy a house, when it's time to do certain things, things have to be in place in order for you to make money. When you go to buy a house, guaranteed they're looking at all your finances, and the way you spend your money shows that you can't afford a house. Most people think, well, I make enough money. Why they want to prove it? You can make great money. You can have an account where your credit score is probably in the 750, 800. But then when they see your spending habit, every month your account is at zero. It shows that you can't save. Every dollar amount that comes in your bank, You spend it out. What's going to happen when you get a house? There's going to be emergencies. There are going to be unforeseen things that happen. So you have to budget and plan for that. And a lot of people tend to what? Not budget or have a plan for an emergency in case something happens. Going back to the beginning, that $1,000, that's the start of an emergency when you're dealing with a house. That's not the end, it's just the start. On average, water heater goes out. Going to a company, $1,200. That's for them to install it. You might get away with somebody installing it for 700 minimum, and it depends on the area. Refrigerator goes out. Refrigerator, you're looking at easy $2,000 for a nice refrigerator. That's not even with all the bells and whistles, the TVs and stuff. That's just with the basic water and ice dispenser. All these things cost. Stoves. Stove might be your cheapest option. I think the last time I bought a stove, I paid 700 and about 780 for it. I know it was six and some change, but after taxes, it kind of went up. Um, just that's like the bulk of the major things. That's not even getting to the whole thing with the HVAC, the heat, the roofing, all that. That's a whole other. You talking about a 5,000 and better, right off with that. So, like I said, the key thing is you saving your money, having some money for emergencies, and also having a budget and holding yourself accountable. Have friends, have family member, have husband, wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whomever, even kids, to help you be accountable by not going to buy. I constantly have this with my wife. She has a fry crate, and I say, well, let's make it a fry craving every once in a while. But she will just Tuesday is go get a fry. She's not even really big on the fast food, but it's more or less the fries that we get to because she likes to, taste it, whether it be the fries from Chick-fil-A. Mainly that's all she eats. But a couple of times Wendy, but more or less having yourself be accountable for your actions. That's the biggest thing where a lot of people don't have that accountability, don't have that accountability partner helping them to overcome their adversities and things like that. So when it comes down to it, having an understanding of your goals, what you want to do, what you're planning to do, it actually helps. And a lot of people, you know, don't have that situation to where they're planning for the future. They're just taking things day by day. You got to be accountable. You got to stay firm on action. Have money that you're saving. Not even if you're just buying a house. And the crazy part I'm talking about this, I actually got an alert saying my credit card is due in 5 days. My credit card is one of my credit cards are due on the 5th. I use my phone for reminders when the light bill is due. I have 5 days before the light bill is due. Sometimes I should do 7, but 5 days before the light bill due, I know the money either needs to be in the account if it's on auto, or I need to have it to the point where I'm in the process of getting ready to pay. You know, Same thing with your credit cards. I try to, get to a point. If I know my credit card is due on the 5th, but they process it on the 23rd before they start sending me my bill on the 5th, I know I need to start getting those payments out on the 23rd before they process it, add it up, that interest for the month on my credit card. So that's an understanding that you have to do. Wanda, how you doing? How you doing? What's going on, Wanda? I've been seeing your videos that much a lot lately. Well, I haven't been on YouTube that much a lot lately myself, so that accounts for it. But how you doing, Wanda? Just talking about a little budget and everything. But things like that. When I'm trying to be more proactive to say, well, I don't want my credit card bill to be this high. So I'm gonna go ahead and pay a little money now, try to attack that, and then turn around. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pay the uh, monthly statement when it comes out on the 5th. I've already know my process. It process on the 23rd, so I'm gonna pay a little before the 23rd to lower that. Then I'm gonna turn around and when the 5th comes, I'm gonna make the payment on it. Now this is the thing: paying the minimum, you get minimum results, and that's the thing. If you're gonna pay your card, try to pay comfortably. You know, get to a point where you're paying at a reasonable amount to where the interest is not hitting you as hard. You know, that's the biggest thing with credit cards I've been trying to do now is only used for emergencies. You have those glass cases, break in case of emergency. That's where a lot of people need to start using their credit cards for, in case of emergencies only. Because you got to understand, all the money that you're spending to the side right here for these credit cards, it's adding up, you know. And over time, that little $20 and that little $40 that you put on the minimum, before you know it, it's just gonna keep crawling up more and more and more to the point where hey, the interest is gonna eat you up over time. Can you actually afford it? You're gonna make a shout out to you. You're gonna make a 2,000, let's say a $2,000 bill each month, hitting you with the interest within a 12-month game. You're gonna probably hit 200 to almost $300 in interest, depending on your card. And that's the thing. A lot of people, what is your interest rate on your card? Is it 15%? Is it 29%? Is it 32? I've heard some people having cards 42 for 42%. And I'm like, wow, wow. So that's the thing. How are you going to budget for all this? Like I said, using those credit cards for emergencies only can help you save a little money. When it's something that has to be paid, this your emergency is not getting the latest Jordans when they come out. It's not getting that purse that you had your eye on. That's not the big emergencies. The big emergencies is issues dealing with your car or transportation that makes you money to go to work. The biggest emergency is something with your house or your living where you at, where you have to sacrifice to make that. Because when it really counts, what would you rather pay? If you work from home, you go buy a purse, but then your lights get cut off. How you gonna work if your lights are cut off? So you have these situations to where you have the money to make decisive decisions, not more or less impulse decisions. And like I said, with this being a quickie, I wasn't gonna be on here long, just 20 minutes. Like I said, where's your money? Where is it going? You know, who's influenced you to keep this money strong? How are you maintaining wealth and life? You know, key thing when going into any relationship, where it goes in with money, where it goes in with the opposite sex, you know, or whatever floats your boat. But the main thing is having an understanding on where you stand. Where do you stand with your money? Where do you stand in your relationship? Where do you stand with your finances? And a lot of people, like I said, having that conversation, that accountability can help. You know, we put things to the side saying that how we're going to change, we're going to make things better for ourselves, but it takes baby steps. And those baby steps include you doing what? Graduating from the things you used to do to living better, you know, keeping money aside for rainy days, having money set aside to where if you want to invest and learn. Key thing is, and I tell people this all the time, you know, I had an aunt, she went to school for business. She taught all her kids. how to save, taught them how to budget, taught them, everything with finance. I didn't stay in that household. I knew to pay my bills, save money what I need to save money for, and that was it. I didn't know about the strategies about the 401k. I started working at 15 years old. I could have been putting money in the IRA, but that wasn't told to me. You know, um, same rule apply with my other family member had their own business. They knew how to save money for rainy day because you're the boss, you're an entrepreneur. You have to set aside money to pay your employees. You have to have money set aside for bills that need to be paid. So that's the thing. Having that mindset, I didn't have it growing up, but over time, like I've told people, it's something else different in life I need to be doing. It's something else I need to be gaining to having an understanding, learning about stocks, learning about bonds, learning about life insurance better than what I know now. Shout out to Alonzo, you know, the social media insurance brother. I believe that's his channel. Social media insurance brother, Alonzo Hall, social media insurance brother. And that's the thing. I knew quite a bit about life insurance, from just my great grandma talking to me about it, not being a burden. The thing is, having that life insurance can change your family's outlook. You know, a lot of people don't understand that one policy could actually change you, your kids, from a family member passing, or just in general. If you pass and giving your kids that knowledge, that can change the next generation. you know. And like I've told my wife, it starts with me. I was having a conversation. I'm gonna get off right here with this. One of my friends make pretty good money, at his job. He's, pretty much stable. Real high end job. He makes money. And we were having a conversation. I told him, I said, "You have life insurance?" "Nah, man, I'm gonna get it. I got it through my job." I said, "With all these investments that you have, why do you don't have life insurance?" You know, it, the thing is, you have the money, you have investments to the point where your wife can liquefy all these things, but now he's putting his stuff in the trust to where his wife can't sell majority of these things. He wants her just to maintain it and make money off of it. And that's a good thing in theory, but if somebody don't have the mindset to do certain things, it's not going to work. Liquidate might be your best asset, and hopefully they treat the money right. But in all, I was talking to my wife and I told her, I said, even though this guy makes way more money than me, probably I would say 4 times more than I make, or maybe even five. And the thing is, with him making all that money and not having life insurance, his wife can't liquefy. Even if she did liquefy her funds, I would still make more money than him on the outcome if I pass versus him pass. I'll leave way more money for my family. And that's just something that, you budget for. You have an understanding of, how life insurance works. You know, not even to the point where a lot of people where we had this conversation too, life insurance is not just for death. You can benefit off life insurance while you're alive. Some people are getting paid right now from their IULs every month because they've been investing in that life insurance for 30 years, like a portfolio on the stock market exchange or something. So things add up. And over time, like I said, having the knowledge, understanding where your money's going, it pays off. But like always, we're just having a conversation. Offline, hope you're still having a conversation with family members and friends and get things going, because at the end of the day, it takes you, it takes your situation that you're in, it takes your family, all your friends, and everybody to understand, you know, where's your money going? How are you saving it? What are you doing to make your life a little bit better? With that being said, shout out to everybody coming through. You know, I always say when I get off of here, we here, we here, we go. Peace.